look at what your friends got and what your friends are doing. It's me against me. It's about what I want.
Thompson, Candace Thompson. Today we are talking real estate, all things real estate, and we're just gonna get started. We're gonna get started. This is for anyone who wants to buy a home. You know, this channel is dedicated to young ladies in their 20s, where it's a time in which you purchase. She purchased during those years. Um, it's the thing to do. We're gonna talk about those, maybe some myth busters around that, but most importantly, if you desire to purchase a home or own a home, and all things real estate, not even only just owning a home, but just real estate as a career as well. She has experience in both. So bringing her on just to share, as we always do, and a little bit too of her journey, which she shared. If you missed our other video on financial literacy, she shared her pathway a little bit on that with her transitioning from corporate America into real estate, and we'll touch on that as well. So welcome, Candace. Welcome, Candace.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here and excited to have an opportunity to share back with the ladies and everybody who joins in.
Thank you. So I want to start off with, I do have some questions here that I've shared, but we're going to let this thing flow. But one of the first thing I want to say is, in general, when it comes to real estate, we'll start with today in 2023. What advice would you give a young person that's looking to purchase a home that you would give in this day and age? And then I want to go to what you did. We're going to kind of mirror, like, what did you actually do? But based on your experience, what you know now, advice would you give a young person? I say 20s, like, some of these young ladies, just anybody. It could be 19 to 30, but young person.
Absolutely. So today's real estate market does have its challenges, but every real estate market has its challenges. So what I would give to a young person today that's thinking about, buying a home, one, you need to connect with a knowledgeable and experienced agent. That's key. That matters. And then that agent can help guide you to get with a experienced and a knowledgeable lender, because the lender is going to be the one that's going to give you the money so that you can buy the property that you want. You want to get with some people that are experienced in the industry, because this real estate market can be a little bit tricky. We're navigating higher interest rates right now. In some markets, they have leveled out to where it's an even playing field for both the buyer and the seller. In some markets, and depending on price point, it may be still a seller's market, and you need to be with an agent that can help navigate you through that. So buyers that are thinking about buying right now and you're a first time buyer, I'm always wanting to make sure that we exhaust and look at all the financial options that you have available to you, and see if there's any grant money, any first time buyer programs, anything that can assist you in helping make this process smoother, easier, and then also a little less money coming out of your pocket as possible.
Wow. Help me with that. That's government grants for first time home buyers, or grants. Is this a new thing, or what? Help me with the grant.
So you have a couple different grants. So in our area, I practice real estate in North and South Carolina. Both of our states have grant money through the state. And what I always like to tell buyers is, if you get grant money from the state, that money is typically not free. Typically, you're going to give a trade-off some kind of way. So if you get grant money from the state, like in South Carolina, there's anywhere from 5,000 to about 10,000 or so. In North Carolina, there's about 8,000 in grant money that the state has to give to first-time buyers. You are going to have a higher interest rate. Those lenders may ask for some lower debt ratios, some different things. So you're going to have some trade-offs. You're going to have some trade-offs there. And typically with the state grant money, you also are going to have some stipulations on time frame for how long you need to be in the house. It goes down as a forgivable second mortgage, typically, as long as you stay in the house a certain amount of time. And that time could be anywhere from 5 years to 10 years to 15 years. So we would need to kind of look at all of that. But then when I'm talking about other grant money, there's a lot of banks and lenders who have grant money that they give to their first time buyers that's not associated with the state. And you may get, again, there may be a trade-off where you get a higher interest rate, but there may be an opportunity where you may get the interest rate based on your credit. So for example, if you go with a particular bank and they have their own in-house grant money that they're giving to first-time buyers as one of their incentives for first-time buyers, they may be giving you, let's say, $10,000 for grant money for your down payment, and another $10,000 for grant money for your down payment, for your closing costs. And then you get the interest rate based on your credit. So if you have a 700 plus credit score or 620 plus credit score or whatever, you get the rate based on that, not saying everybody gets a blanket rate of X. So I like for us to be able to navigate through to see what's the best option for you, and looking at the different scenarios.
Wow. So I'm 26 at home, saving money to buy me a home. And I know, again, as we know, everything's catered towards the buyer. However, just in general, what should a typical credit score be? You mentioned debt to ratio, which we know what that is, your debt to ratio. You can kind of give it a snapshot definition for those who don't know. But what should my credit score typically be? What advice would you give me? What should I do to walk out of here to get a kind of a promising I am eligible to buy a home? How much I should have saved up? The three questions would be how much I should have saved up, what should my credit score be, and debt to ratio.
Okay. So it would be good if you could always keep your housing ratio from what you make in income to your housing to 30%. So you don't want, that's typically what you want. So you bring in, your income from your job, times that by 30%. That's how much money you want to typically pay in housing. Now the reality is everything's high. Rent's high, mortgages can be high because interest rates are higher. So the reality of you staying at a 30% debt ratio for your housing ratio is kind of slim. It can happen if you're open-minded. So a lot of lenders will let you go up to 50% of your income for that ratio. They'll say, okay, you bring in, let's just use a round number. You bring in $5,000 a month for income. That's about 70 grand in a year. So they may say, well, we'll let you go up to $2,500 mortgage payment. That mortgage payment needs to include your taxes for your property, your insurance for your homeowner's insurance, your principal payment that goes to the bank, and the interest on that mortgage that goes to the bank as well. So that's what we call the PITI payment. So you want to make sure that you're 50% or under. It's kind of key of what you look for. But realistically, do you really want to be there? And as a young person, I would advise not, because you still got to live. You might want to travel. There may be some other things you want to go and do, and you don't want to be what we call house poor. So I encourage my young buyers to truly think about, this is a stepping stone. So with it being a stepping stone, you don't have to get the biggest house on the block. You don't have to get like all the bells and the whistles. Get something that's comfortable for you that you can grow into, and then you can possibly use that equity later to transition it into an investment property. Or if you want to sell it, then now you sell it, make the equity, and then you use that as your down payment for your next purchase, and you get a bigger down payment. So 30% is key if you can stay around that. If not, most lenders will let you go up to 50% of your income for a housing payment. But again, as a real estate agent, when I'm talking to my first time buyers and we're having our buyer consultation, I tell them, go speak with your lender to talk to them about where you are in terms of what you currently pay for rent. If you're staying at home with your mom and your dad and you're not paying anything in rent, that could be a payment shock for you. So we don't want to see a payment shock. So we'll talk about strategies to how you need to set aside what would be your mortgage payment for a couple of months, so you can see how that feels. And that money is just stacking up in the bank without you touching it, because that's what's going to happen when you start paying, a mortgage to, to your lender. Um, so debt ratios, we want to see your ratios in general 50% or under. As far as credit scores go, it really depends on your loan product that you choose. Now, there are a lot of banks that have some really cool things. So, for instance, if you are a member of a credit union and you have a zero credit score, you can buy a house with them. Typically, credit unions will do a zero credit score, and that's for people who may have just decided never to get a credit card. They don't have a car payment or anything. Now, what they'll do is use non-traditional trade lines. Your non-traditional trade lines are going to be things such as your cell phone bill, seeing that you pay that. If you are renting, they can use your rent payments. They can use your utilities. So they can use some of those different things as long as it's in your name. Has to be in your name, guys. They can use those as non-traditional trade lines and show that you have some credit worthiness. There's nothing wrong with being completely debt free and not having debt, because it's the only way you'll have a credit score showing is if you're using your credit, so credit unions are a great way to go if you have a zero credit score. Most lenders, if they do a FHA loan, that is a government backed loan. That loan minimum credit score is 580. And then if you are doing anything conventional, like a conventional loan, typically they want to see a 640 credit score. Now, when I talked earlier about grant money from the state or these different lenders and things of that nature, they typically do want to see a 640 credit score or higher. So the higher your credit score, the lower your interest rate will be. And typically once you get to about a 660, 680, a lot of the lenders have 100% first time buyer programs anyway. So you might not have to access grant money. You can just do 100% loan with the lender. And if it's an in-house product where they call it a portfolio product, that loan, they'll keep it in-house at their bank and they don't sell it on the secondary market. They keep it in-house. And then you may not have private mortgage insurance in your payment. I always tell buyers to try to see all the loan options, because every loan option can be a good option. I encourage all first-time buyers to get a fixed 30-year mortgage or 15-year mortgage, a fixed 15-year or a fixed 30-year mortgage. I'd never encourage a buyer to get a variable interest rate, which means that your interest rate will be fixed for a short period of time and then it'll go up and down as the market adjusts. So right now we're in a crazy time where the rates have been going up, up, and up. So if you're in a variable interest environment, then your rate could be here one day, be here the next day, can come back down. I don't encourage that for a first time buyer. I feel like that is a product for a more savvier buyer, for an investor, for somebody who may not be in the house for a longer period of time. So I encourage all first time buyers to get a fixed mortgage. Whether it's a 15-year or 30-year. 15-year, you'll get it paid off quicker, but your payment is going to be higher. So you just have to keep that in mind and just make sure the numbers work out. I don't know if I answered all three questions.
You did. The last one is, what would be, you would say, the minimum, even though, let's just say I'm fully approved, what would be a minimum you would say to have a cushion in the bank for savings in general to move into your first home?
All right, guys. So even though you may not really let's say you're getting all this grant money and all these programs and stuff out here to pay for your down payment, your closing costs, and you're not really coming out of pocket for a lot of money, there are still some other costs that you got to pay for. Typically earnest money, which is good faith money, is what we call good faith money, that goes towards your expenses when you get ready to close. Usually we recommend 1% of the purchase price for that. So again, if we're using a $200,000 price point, that's $2,000. If we're using a $300,000 price point, that's $3,000. So you got to have some money. Then also you got to think about the appraisal. The appraisals typically cost about $450 to $650, and that's a fee that you typically pay up front. So you need to have that money. You may also have a home inspection. I don't recommend anybody buy a house without an inspection. It's your opportunity to discover any latent defects, any problems, any issues. It's also a way for you to navigate what challenges that you may have to fix, because some houses are sold as is if you're not buying a brand new house. So you may have some things that you can deal with and you can work on over time, or there may be some really big defects in the home that you need to walk away from. An inspection may run you anywhere from $450 all the way up to 800 or so dollars, depending on what all types of inspections you need to do. So I always encourage, at minimum, do a regular home inspection, but then also consider doing a termite inspection, which is a wood destroying insect inspection. Radon. So radon is a naturally occurring gas that we breathe every day. It emits itself from rocks. So if you live in an area that has more rocks in the soil, you may have a higher increase of radon in your house. It can lead to cancer and different things. You may need to do some additional inspections: electrical, HVAC, roof. The list can go on and on. And if you need to do a structural inspection, because let's say you buy an older home and your house has some structural issues, and you might love the house and maybe it's settled at some point, and it's no longer moving, but you may need to do a structural inspection. That all costs money. So I would say at minimum, you want to have, I would say, if it comes down to the very bare bone minimum, because we can sometimes negotiate a smaller earnest money amount. I would say give yourself at least $2,000 to have to be able to, write for earnest money, appraisal, and inspections. We're able also to negotiate where inspections can be paid at closing. But typically the appraisal cannot be paid at closing. Most lenders want that up front. So you want to have $500 set aside for that. And at minimum, $1,000 for earnest money. But the key when we are negotiating, we want the seller to see our offer is strong. So I recommend 1% for your earnest money. So if we're buying a $300,000 house, I would be recommending to you to put down $3,000 for your earnest money, which is your good faith money. You're going to be paying your lender about $500 or so for your appraisal. And then for the inspection, I would say go ahead and have at least $600 for that. So that kind of gives you a roundabout number, but at the bare bone minimum, $2,000.
I love it. Thank you for breaking that down. Very interesting. I love that you brought up those different types of inspections. That's very, very helpful. Never knew that about rocks. I learned something. Learning a lot, but yeah, I like that. So I do want to transition to your personal journey, personal journey, because you used the term, and I've seen your personal journey. The home you grew up in, where you stayed. I stayed there during that time in my years. I was just like, where can I stay, friend? And that personal journey of house poor, and I watched you stay in your childhood home. And I know you based in a neighborhood that you wouldn't just choose to live in, but you did that. And you tell me about that journey, and it's just a beautiful story. What did you learn from that, doing that in your 20s? What were some challenges, and how did you grow, and how did it prepare you and put you in the position that you're in today?
Absolutely. So for those that have not heard about my journey, it's a little bit different, and we don't get to pick our journey, right? Some things are just destined. So with my journey, I inherited my home because my parents passed while I was young. So I inherited a home, and it was outdated. I mean, it was like a 1970s house, and it looked like 1970s: shag carpet, wallpaper, you name it. The green, avocado green tile, the harvest gold countertops, the wood paneling walls. Yes, I had all of that. So over time, I took my time and I updated that home. And so one thing that I share with people when I say that you use your home as your stepping stone, I look at the property that, I lived in for a number of years. Even though I didn't have to purchase that property, I still consider it as a stepping stone because I took my time and I fixed that house up to be exactly what I wanted it to be. So when I finished at the end, all the wood paneling, the shag, the um, outdated colored tile, all of that stuff got gone, and I renovated that property. And what I tell people, when you don't have a whole lot of money, you got to get resourceful. And if you're not handy, and I'm not, you got to get resourceful. So that might mean you pick one major project a year and you get your quotes. So, I didn't have central air and heating at home. It had baseboard heating, and I refused to turn on the air conditioning units.
Yes, she did. Oh my God. Behind until she bought a computer, her friend's sweating, but that computer gonna be cool. Like what?
Yeah, but that's a whole nother story where I put that computer in and the instruction said, do not let your computer overheat. And I said, oh, wow, I need to turn the air on.
I'm done. Go
So yeah,
ahead.
you learn. And when you're young, you don't really know what you're getting yourself into. But at the same time, I said, okay, you know what? I need central air and heat. Well, how much is that going to cost? And so I started getting quotes. And then always, if you're doing any major updates, one, you need to definitely pull a permit. But two, you want to look with what the EPA, which is the Environmental Protection Agency, through the government, if they have any rebates, that helps you. And that's where I'm saying you got to be resourceful. And as a first time buyer, you may not know, but I'm hoping you're going to watch this video and you say, oh, EPA. So windows, HVAC systems, sometimes roof, just different big things that are in your house that could possibly help you save on taxes or something like that. Call your local municipalities. They also may have information on any resources for, some of those things. So you might be able to get a rebate. But anyway, pick one major project a year and you do it. So, oh, you want new cabinets and you want granite, get your budget together and then start setting aside. You always pay yourself first when you are working a job, and you have a couple different accounts. So you might have a fun account, you might have a home improvement account, and you might have a rainy day account. And you put money in each of those little buckets, right? And then once you have all the money that you need to pull the project, then do the project. Or you could get a home equity line of credit, or you could put it on a credit card. But you want to be savvy about and think about your budget and what you can afford to do. You don't want to put yourself in a negative situation. You don't want to lose your home, lose your britches because you out here doing the most. So you want to make sure that you are staying true to yourself and doing things within a reasonable time. Some projects may take you a couple of years. Like when I chose to do HVAC, I think it cost me $6,500 just to do the new install for the HVAC, plus an additional, I think it was $2,000 for the electrical box upgrade. That's a lot of money. That took me about a 3-year savings in order to truly pull the trigger and do all of that. And when I did do it, I struck a check. It wasn't putting this on a credit card and doing that or whatever. So it took me a little bit to save that money, and I was in my early 20s. So, you gotta make sure that you are staying true to yourself. You don't live out here for the Joneses. And I mean, that's important.
And that's why I want to go there. I want to go more there. That's what I want you to talk, because we get back to real estate, but I want you to go to that staying true to yourself, because that's what we're all about here. And you have stayed true your entire journey. You and I are two totally different people, as everybody should be, but that's the type of people I attract to, is unique individuals and souls that really stay true to themselves. And to that point, I want to go back to my question, and you really elaborate, and I appreciate that. I saw you transition that entire home, but why did you choose to stay there in your early 20s when you probably could have sold that home cash? Because the 20-year-old like, oh, I can sell. I've seen a 40-year-old, 50-year-old sell a house, take all the money and go, whatever. So in your 20s, how did you choose something without even having parents right there? What was that inspiration? What was that connection within your soul that said, Candace, stay here and be patient and sacrifice?
Yeah. So I always tell people, when you're ready to buy a house, one, you got to be ready, willing, and able. That's what they teach us in real estate school. But I also say that there's a few other components. You got to be mentally ready. If your mind ain't right, you ain't going nowhere. Our mind leads us everywhere we go, right? Sometimes I say my mind is telling me one thing, but I'm over here doing something else. And so, mental is you got to be there mentally. And so for me, I wasn't ready mentally to leave my parents' home, and I still reference that as my parents' home. I grew up at that place. I still own it. For me mentally, I couldn't I wasn't ready to leave. So for me it was comfort. It was I was familiar with it. I could close my eyes and I can walk through every inch of that house. Like right now with my eyes closed, I could still do that. Like I knew how many steps it took to get to the bathroom, to get to the front door, to get to the back door, whatever. I knew that home inside and out. And so for me, I wasn't ready to leave it. I didn't like the mint green walls and the shag carpet and some of the other things. So I said, you know what, let me make this be me. And that's what I did. So you really got to be ready mentally to step out on your own. I don't think there's anything wrong with renting for a short period of time. I've never rented a day in my life because, again, my parents purchased that home back in like the 70s. And, I graduated from college and, went straight there. So I've never been a renter. I didn't even rent in college. I stayed in dorms. So I don't know what it feels like to be a renter, and that type of thing. So for me, I just wasn't ready to fly the nest. But at the same time, I didn't have parents at home, so I was by myself. I do have a brother, but he was gone. So, so it was like I got this whole house to myself now, and what do I do? And so my brother said, listen, you stay here as long as you need to stay here. And when you decide that you're ready to leave, he said, then we'll decide as a family what we're going to do. And that's what we did. And so I encourage people, one, you got to think about, what home ownership means to you and, where you want to go, but your mental has to be intact. You can't just jump out there and you haven't thought through some things. So that's important.
I love that. And a lot of sentimental value. As you were speaking, I was just reminiscing and thinking about why was I never. I think it's a difference when you're actually raised in a home and it was a part of your being and everything about you, your family. I've never had that type of attachment because I didn't grow up in one home. But I think that's beautiful. That's beautiful. I was just kind of going through those rooms with you when you were talking, just because that means different from somebody else. So
Right.
you had some sentimental value to lots of it, and then you transition. So thank you for that. I love that. So she stayed for many reasons, but it was a heart space and it prepared her. How did it prepare you for today? So what did you do with your first home purchase? What was that about and how did it get you there?
Wow. I think when I first made the decision that I was gonna purchase, I broke down and cried because it was finally something on the inside that said we're about to do this and we're gonna leave a place of familiarity and comfort, right? And we were gonna go somewhere where we didn't know. So where I'm sitting at right now is at my new home. It's not brand new. It's still an older home, but it's new for me. I've been here a couple of years though, but I'm on my back deck. And so I really thought about, what were some of the things that I really wanted in a home. I thought about location, and I thought about, what would make me happy as a homeowner in my next space. And I went after that. And so for me, I was more of a location buyer. So I live, downtown, and I can just walk to all the food truck Fridays. I can walk to the breweries. I can walk to the park. I kept saying I was going to get a bicycle and ride my bike to the grocery store. Now I did buy a bicycle, but we have not made it to the grocery store yet. So I don't even know if that will happen at this
It's
point,
coming.
but
You got the bike.
I got the bike. So I purchased for location and things that I like to do, right? So my purchase also, I said, the only thing that I absolutely needed to have was a formal dining room. And I know as a younger woman, you may not want a formal dining room, but at my older house, I did not have that. And I said, I want a space to where I can entertain, and I want a space to where I could have this nice formal like table versus a eat-in kitchen area. And I know a lot of builders now in these newer homes, they don't do the formal spaces, but I'm still a traditional type person with a few modern touches, right? So I like older homes. So I was just like, I need this space. This will work for me. I can feel it. And so those were the things that I wasn't negotiable on. It was the dining room and it was the location. Location first, then dining room. It didn't matter to me about the number of bathrooms, because to me you can always add and make a house bigger, and that type of thing. So for me it was more location, dining room, and the flow of the house. If the flow worked, I can make anything else work. So yeah.
And it's beautiful. It's perfect for her. And she did a lot of renovations to that home. I haven't seen it most recently when she first buys. It's definitely Candy. Now, Candace, I think I love what you're speaking about. And let's go to that, to the home buyer. You brought up location,
Mm-hmm.
the importance of something that's for you when buying a home. What do you find in your experience when working with people? And how long have you been a realtor?
So I've been a realtor for 15 years.
Mhm.
And location is something you can't change. You can change how many bedrooms, bathrooms, you can change a door, you can change what your kitchen looked like, but you can't change the location. The location is unique for every piece of real estate that's out there. So you really need to think about, well, what's important? Where do you want to be? Also, one thing that a lot of buyers do not do is go to city council meetings and city planning meetings. I encourage all buyers to do that. One, you can find out about new potential commercial development projects that are coming up in your area, right? Now, I sell real estate, so I just hear about a bunch of stuff just randomly. So, but I like breweries, I like trendiness, I like live music. And I said to myself, well, what's the area where, one, I'm going to be able to just sit out on my deck and possibly hear live music or whatever? And I said, well, downtown. So I said, so downtown will be an area that I'll look at. Then I said to myself, well, you know what, I won't be here forever. There will be a time when I come to rent this house out, possibly, or if I want to sell it, where could I go and rent my house out easily? And I said, okay, we have a local college in my town. So I said, I'm going to add that location in to my budget. And what I noticed is the houses that were downtown were less expensive than the houses that were around the college. And the houses, they kind of look the same, but it's location, right? And at that point, the downtown hadn't had all of the growth with, it was breweries and things, but it wasn't as many as there are now. There's more that have come, and they're still constantly building. So you want to kind of look and see, like if you are a commuter and you need to be close to the interstate, maybe getting a property that's close to the interstate is key for you. Or if you are somebody who knows that they want to have chickens or whatever, then you might need a little bit more land. And I don't know if you hear my little train coming through, but I got a little train that's going to come through in just a second. I hear it. So I'm not too far from the train crossing. It's like a 2 streets over, but it's about to get loud just for a second. I apologize.
It's okay. Well, I don't hear it.
Oh, good.
Is there? I don't hear
She's coming. You hear it? You hear it? Okay, good. Okay,
you
good.
can't
Well,
hear
I can hear her.
Yeah, and that was something I'm sure you took in consideration when buying. You be close to a train, which that's not bad. I mean, sometimes that's refreshing. It's a nice little train. Choo-choo. Well, I love
Yeah.
it. I think, and I chime in on location. So the house that we were living, Julie and I bought it before. He bought it before we were married, while we were engaged, and when we sold it, didn't have an HOA. Definitely was not lots of renters. We were in a cul-de-sac, so there were buyers on both sides of us. So that was a good thing. We didn't have kids at the time, but one of the reasons that house sold quickly, it was in prime location it was in the great place for schools. And I could definitely vouch that's huge. Like that was just something like, wow, it sold easily and you could just tell, but it was because of the schools. So schools are important if you have kids,
Yes.
you know?
Yes. And I actually tell my young buyers, and even if they're single or newly married and they don't have kids, I tell them to do their research on the schools. Because as a real estate agent, we can't steer you and direct you to go buy in this particular neighborhood, right? But what I like to do is educate you. And so I'll say, hey, you don't have children now, but if you would do some research, then maybe we can find you a place to where you guys are just recently married, or you're a single person now, but in the future, in 2, 3, 4, 5 years, you could have your lifestyle could be different,
Yeah.
your family size could be different. And if you buy the home now to have the school that you would want your child to potentially start kindergarten in, then you won't need to necessarily move
True.
when you have that child, if you have that child. And if you can buy in a area that you like the schools and you like the way that they're going to potentially teach the children, that type of thing, then you can grow into that house, right? um I tell all my buyers that they may say, you know what, we ain't got no kids and we want to be in a condo downtown, uptown, whatever, and or whatever the case might be, and they're
Right.
not concerned about schools. But then as soon as they have their child and then they start researching that location and where the schools are, I get that phone call and they're like, "Girl, look, we done had a baby, and I mean, we need to just go ahead and sell this because little Johnny gonna be in kindergarten in 2 years, and we want to go ahead and sell now so that we're settled and we're acclimated and we're a part of that community, and we want to be in this." And they'll name somewhere it's the other side of town, and they say we should have listened to you. I've gotten that call numerous times, which is okay because then
Yeah.
that's a repeat customer for me. And I get to help them find the area that they truly need to be in so that their family can have the type of life that they desire them to have. But if you do the research up front, you can stay for a few years into that child's first couple of years into school until you have the second child, and then you need the space,
Yeah.
right? So I do encourage people do the research, because as a real estate agent, I cannot steer you into that direction. Do I know which areas have better schools? Absolutely, I do. But I can't.
Well,
I
well,
can't.
help me with that. Is
I
that
can't.
something you choose to do just for your own personal ethics, or is that something in real estate code you can't suggest?
Yes, in real estate. Yeah. So we're not
Oh,
supposed to tell you if it's a sex offender, uh, in the neighborhood. Like when I first started selling real estate, I used to look up the sex offenders in the area, and then I just stopped because we can't tell you anyway. But then
wow.
when you start seeing certain faces, and especially if you do it in your own town that you grew up in, and you go to the grocery store and you see somebody that you personally know, and they're on it just makes you look at that person a little bit differently. So I stopped looking at that. But
That's interesting. Did you? I never even. That's true. That's public. And you used to
yeah.
look at it because you were looking for your clients.
Well, no, I wasn't looking at it for my clients. I was
Oh,
just looking at it to just know
be
what was going
aware.
on. I was curious. And
Wait a
then I
minute.
just
This is the commercial break. So you found that the people you would see them in public.
at
Wow,
the grocery store, at the gas station. And this is one thing about me. I
that's
don't forget
interesting.
faces. Yeah, I don't forget faces. So if I if I see your face somewhere, I'd be like, God, I know you, but I don't know you. I just saw you
I don't know
online.
you, but I know you.
And then all I have to do is sit. All I have to do is sit, right? And then I'll say, God, where do I know this person from? And then it comes to me, and I'm like, oh, saw you on. the sex offender registry.
Wow. I see what you're saying. It just became uncomfortable. Like I don't need to know it unless I need to know it. But
Right.
I see what you're
And so
saying.
so
Wow.
I encourage all buyers, ride through a neighborhood, pull your sex offender registry,
Mm,
go park out in front of the house at nighttime. And if you want to sit on the porch, because I've had this happen too, where I told a buyer, you know what, you might want to sit on that porch. Just let me know. I'll let the sellers know that you're coming. You're just gonna be sitting on the porch, just so you can get a sense of what it feels like if you're sitting on the porch. You
mm.
know, um, the house that I own now. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I rode by this house and just parked my car and walked up and down the street. I got to know my neighbors' children before I met my neighbors because the kids play out and I have a little tiny dog and I would walk him around. This was even before I even purchased the house. I was out here walking around with my little guy and saying, "Hey, this is going to be our home."
Wow.
So little stuff like that. You want to be comfortable
Yeah.
in your area. And then another thing that I encourage you to do if you're going to a different area, not people who are relocating, but let's say you already live in that town or you live in the next town over, start shopping in the town or the area where you're going to be moving. So, there may be three big malls in the area, but there may be like a plethora of grocery stores, boutique
Wow.
shoppings, restaurants. So start doing date nights in that area where you're buying. Start doing your grocery shopping. Yeah, it's going to take you a little bit longer to get back to where you currently live, but you're moving to this other area. So go ahead and start doing that shopping and whatever you need to do in the area where you want to be so you can get acclimated and you can kind of say, okay, I like the vibe. This feels good.
I
That
love that.
kind of
That's some great nuggets just to give. I mean, these are just like your grandma sit me down and share with me the truth. You know what I mean? And I love
yeah,
that. Those are very just simple things I never even thought of or heard of because what you're doing and what I think, and especially in this generation, the challenge of future thinking. That's a
yeah,
challenge, and that's what you're speaking on, like really being patient with the process. We say that all the time, trust the process. I don't care what you're doing in life. You've got to trust. It's a process. A home
yeah.
buying is a process. You get in that neighborhood, you don't like it, or you don't like your neighbors. Maybe you sat and they throwing parties every night, but now you're in that place. You could have avoided that if you would went through the neighborhood sometime and see they maybe have a lot of company over all the time. So these are just really good things, Candy. Thank you for sharing that. You just want to think about. You really want to think about that. Thank you for that.
Absolutely. And one other thing I want to add is when you're moving to a new area, don't wait for the neighbors to come meet you. You
Mm.
go over there and you meet them. I'm a real friendly, outgoing kind of person. So I'll never forget my neighbors across the street. They're older. And, I pulled in the yard and I hopped out the car because they was outside doing yard. They got the best yard on the street too, by the way. Like I love their yard. I'm like, gosh, your grass is amazing. But anyway, I hopped out the car and I ran over there and I was like, "Hey guys, I'm going to be your new neighbor." And they said, "Oh, we were going to wait till you got in and got settled, and we were going to come over and introduce ourselves to you and everything." So get out and know your neighbors. You need to know who lives beside you and who's across from you, and then maybe the people in behind you if you have people behind you. For me, I wanted to know everybody who flanked my house. I wanted your phone number. I wanted to know what you did for work, and because you never know who you might need. If I need to borrow a cup of sugar, I need to know who I can go to. If I need if I need somebody to come over here and kill a snake, I need to know who
True,
who uh,
true.
who can do that. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm not going to kill the snake.
But we
So,
can even bring that closer to home, like true experiences you have had with neighbors
yeah.
that have helped you. I mean, everybody know Miss
Yeah.
Sally at your old house. They're an extra set of eyes. If you're young and you're traveling a lot, or you're married or whatever, but you're gone away from your home, it's truly a benefit to be. And you may
It
not
is.
be an extrovert. Candace is, and I don't mind meeting people either. She's more. That's what makes her beautiful, I feel like, and that's gonna segue into our next question, kind of last. What makes her great at what she does? You got to know yourself to know what you're going to do well at. She excels because she is a people's person, a genuine people person. People going in real estate, they're not people. I believe you need to be one to excel. You might do well, but anyway, that's a good point. Your neighbors, like, it's benefits
Yeah.
beyond just it's just benefits. It's a lot. I mean, we growing up, Miss Buzz, we go on the way, mom, you just have, I remember Miss Bud, she would share. And I don't mind nosy neighbors, as long as you're not messing with me, but those nosy neighbors are going to look out for you.
That's right.
So,
That's right. I love old neighbors. Speaking of Miss Sally, I talked to her today. I
Hey,
still talk to my old neighbors. I love them. And you
yeah,
know, and my new neighbors here are wonderful. I love them. And, I couldn't ask for better neighbors for where I live now and where I left. And if I could pick up all my old neighbors and bring them over here to my new neighborhood and just sprinkle them in here, man, it'd be amazing, right? I mean,
I love
having
it.
good neighbors is
True.
good, but you have to be a good neighbor too.
That's the key.
Um, yeah, and I'm relatively quiet. I do keep to myself. I'm not a partier and all of that. And I'm not real I mean, my boyfriend says I talk loud, but I don't
Yeah,
think
you
I'm
do, but
loud.
that's the difference between sociable and that's you're to yourself. You just yeah,
Right.
it's a different. That's you do that for your work and your friends, but you're not like just that. You're not like that. Just
No, no. But I think that, you want to know who your neighbors are and you want them to know you. And you want to be able to help each other because that's what community is about, right? And
a
I don't live
neighborhood is.
exactly. And I don't live in an HOA neighborhood because I didn't want that kind of neighborhood when
Mhm.
I was looking. But I do want a sense of community. And so to have a sense of community, you have to be a part of the community.
Mm.
So, you just have to immerse yourself and get to know your neighbors and they get to know you.
That's a part of home buying because home buyers stick together. Renters, you can look in the neighborhood and tell the renters. You
Yeah,
can. I mean, it's real.
it is.
It's
It
real.
is. We have a couple of renters up the street. I've never met them. Not that I wouldn't want to meet them, but
Right.
they don't hang out, on like we all have porches and decks, but they don't hang out on their porches. They're not just like outside interacting and mixing with the rest of the street. We even though we don't have an HOA, our neighborhood does get together at a local bar.
Really?
And yeah, and
What's your neighborhood called? It's not a call. It's not. Is it a name?
we don't really have, well, Confederate Park is down the street, so I guess we could be the Confederate Park neighborhood, but we don't really have a name. Like we don't have a neighborhood name per se, but we'll get together at a local bar and just kind of hang out and get to know each other. Sometimes the neighbor up the street a sponsor, not really sponsor, but she'll like when they do the national night out, which is like a national thing, the police will come to the neighborhood. So we'll go, everybody bring their lawn chairs and we sit out in her yard and we talk about crime in the area and stuff like
Wow.
that. Um, but we don't have an HOA or whatever. But I guess we could be considered the Confederate Park neighborhood, and we do have a Facebook page. So
Wow.
not a lot of people are in it, and it's not very active. But if you really need to know something, you could just walk up and down the street and talk to different people and you'll find out what's going on.
Hmm. I
Yeah.
love it. So the last, I do have two questions. The first one is, why is a home an investment or is an investment? I've heard both recently, of course, growing up, our generation and just life, home was always an investment. Home was always an investment. Recently, I've heard actually from a guy I actually admire his insight on financial literacy, but he just said, home could be an investment, home may not be. So, what's your take on home is an investment? Why? And for you, is it? And then we're going to segue into what makes a great realtor. I believe you're definitely, I mean, it's not biased. I don't know a lot of realtors, but I know people that are real estate agents, but you have been successful to me. We're not talking about a dollar amount. We're talking about just as a person in your industry, you've done it full time and you've never had to look back or go back. So I feel like that's success in itself. And then just your personality, you are a person who's definitely a giver by nature. You're very warm, you're genuine, you're genuinely yourself. And I believe those make great qualities as a real estate agent. So for sure, those are qualities. But for you, what do you think? Because of course you don't, and you can say about yourself, I know we struggle with that, but just truly, what do you think makes you a great real estate agent? I want you to put that out there because you are. Why do you think you've had success in the business? And when people are looking for a real estate agent, what should they be looking for?
Okay.
I'm sorry,
So
that was like three questions.
it was,
So the investment first, the investment. Why the home an investment and what's this new thing or why it couldn't be or why you know.
yeah. So most most people would say, their home is an investment. And, as a real estate agent, we want to teach our clients that your home could be an investment for you. It could become an asset. And the reason we would say things like that is like you buy a home and you stay there for a certain amount of time. And over time, your house appreciates in value, right? And if you sell that house, so let's say you bought the house for $150,000, right? And you go in and you sell it for $300,000. The difference between 300,000 and 150,000 is your profit, right? That's an asset. You just put $150,000 in your pocket, and all you did was stay here, pay your mortgage, pay your utility bills, your insurance. You might have had a couple of parties here, but you know, housing, shelter is a basic need in life. So you gotta stay somewhere. Now there are homeless people out here, unfortunately, but the ones of us who choose not to be homeless, there are some people who choose to be homeless, but then there are some people who have, you know, that has become their unfortunate situation, but if you are going to pay rent somewhere, if you're going to co-op and stay somewhere, if you're going to, if you're going to buy a home, you're choosing where you're going to lay your head and where you're going to live, right? And so your house can become an asset in that. Now, as far as when people say, well, your house may not be an asset, take the people who purchased a house in the United States from, like, I would say 2003 to 2007.
Yeah.
Those people may have gotten a variable interest rate. So that's where the payment can go up and down, right? You're on a little roller coaster ride. And then the whole world went poof in 2008. 2009, we are deep into a recession. And what should have been an asset for you ended up not being an asset because, one, you couldn't sell it. Your payments shot sky up and you couldn't afford that payment anymore. And so you were trying to figure out, well, what were you going to do? And for a lot of people, unfortunately, what should have been an asset became heartbreak. It became a liability. I mean, it was
Foreclosure.
yeah, foreclosure happened, short sales happened. I mean, it was a destitute type, situation for a lot of people. And for the ones though that wavered through that storm,
Waited.
they waited.
Mhm.
So if you bought a house, prior to 2007, 2008, and you were able to make it through that recession, right? You realized a lot of money when you sold in 2016, 17, 18, 19. And if you were blessed to sell a house in 2020, 21, and 2022, you really made good money. Most people did, and they really did become assets. So with real estate, you got to time the market. You got to know when is a good time to sell. It's always a good time to buy. And the reason I say that is there's always a deal to be had, whether that means you get closing costs, you get a great rate. That means you get the location that you want. If that means that you get the type of house that you need for your family size, for your needs, for whatever, it's always a great time to buy. And you buy when you can buy, so it doesn't have to be, that asset doesn't have to be realized today, but it can be realized later. And it can be realized maybe not by you, but maybe by your heirs, right? And if you don't have children and you don't have family that you want to bequeath your property to, what makes you feel good in life? I am, right? You might say, well, I believe in, what this organization does to help young women, and and that type of thing. I'm going to bequeath my property to them, and when something happens to me, they can choose to sell this property, and now they have resources to go out here and do whatever to help more women and young people. There's a lot of things you could do with your property. It's people out here that, I mean, you got people like Bill Gates and whoever talking about they gonna give all their money away. Their kids ain't gonna get anything. But one thing that you have to realize is knowledge is more powerful than money. You could take that knowledge and turn it into money, you know.
Application of knowledge is true.
Absolutely. And the same thing with real estate. When you may not, some people that will say, well, it's not really an asset. It may not be an asset today,
But at some
right now, but at some point it could be, and it could help you set yourself up in a great position. It's people out here that buy a house every time they have a child, so that when that child gets to 18, 19, now they're taking that property and they're saying, you know what should we do? Should we go ahead and sell it? Should we go ahead and refinance it, pull out the money to pay for college free and clear, and now we'll let the tenant that's in the property bring that mortgage payment back down to zero? You have options, you know, and I think
that's the
that's
knowledge.
that's the knowledge. And see, we don't talk
That's
about
another conversation.
it really is another
That's another,
conversation.
that goes into using life insurance policy. It truly is. That's the true wealth. You know, here, this is, you know, I'm trying to get us just like, let's get some basics here. Like, okay, we want to buy the house. Why do we want to buy the house? Is it really for us? And you're giving them very good knowledge on, okay, these are the basics. Because some people just, and most people, honestly, on IM and just that I know, and first generation of many things. Their parents weren't even, I have a young lady, her mom never had a house. She said, I just want to buy my mom a home. You know, and I understand that. I understand the pain behind it, although, you know, I understand that, but just the idea, understanding what are we doing, the investment that it takes, and what are we doing? It is an asset, but I think a lot of things I'm taking from just what you're saying, it's the journey and it's the patience behind it. It's not I buy it and I'm a homeowner. It takes a lot to come with it. Not a lot that you can't do, but just be knowledgeable.
Yeah, I agree. And you know, right now we are at a time where we're more educated. We have more resources. Growing up, now I'm not that old, but growing up, we didn't have the internet like that. You know, so we didn't have a computer at our fingertips. I remember being in school and the teacher saying, you got to know how to do all this math because you will never have a calculator at your disposal. What?
They ain't using none of the math they talking about, but using all this computer system they said we wouldn't have. You know, it's true.
Exactly. So times change, we evolve and we grow and we use technology to our benefit. And we can no longer say, well, because my mama and daddy didn't know, I don't know, or because my mama and daddy weren't smart enough to go to college, or because my mom and daddy didn't finish high school, I choose not to. We can't use that as a crutch anymore. We have to now pick ourselves up, move forward, because now all the tools have been put in front of us. If you want the information, if you want the knowledge, all you have to do is ask. Somebody knows, and they'll show you or point you in the right direction of somebody who can help you gain that information. You know, the Black home ownership rate is lower today in 2023 than it was in 1970s. Now, we had laws back then that stopped us as a people from being able to purchase, from living in certain neighborhoods. And when we talk about, I can go to a whole
now we
thing.
talking. I'm gonna stay on for this one. They're not ready. We ain't having it. We'll come back for that other conversation about using wealth, because that's wealth talk. We're gonna get the wealth talk, maybe. I don't know. Go back to get the facts on the Black home ownership. Honestly, what do you know about that? Let's go.
So the biggest thing is that we're more
Why?
Well, I think I don't know the reason why, but I
have an opinion on it.
The bottom line is that we are more educated and we have more resources, but yet we are choosing not to purchase. For me, when I've talked to different people and they'll say, well, I don't want to live in a neighborhood like this, or I need a house that has a 2-car garage, 4 bedrooms, 3.5 bathrooms, but it's just them. And then when they find out what the budget would need to be to buy that, then I'll say, well, hey, why don't we just take that down a notch? I can still get you a 2-car garage. I can still get you a 4-bedroom house, but you're not going to probably get the 3 bathrooms. Let's take it down to maybe 2.5 bathrooms. And then let's also bring the square foot down. And then let's also go to the next town over, or to a different side
You
of
don't take
town.
their whole dream away.
I didn't take the whole
How
dream away.
messy.
I just wanted them to have some reality, right?
Mhm.
And then they say, well, you know what? If I can't buy in this area, in this location, in this, I'm not gonna buy. Okay, well, you're part of the problem,
True.
because here is somebody who's going to continue to rent. And I'm an investor myself, and I have rental property, and so I encourage all my tenants, buy a house. I would love to sell you one, but
Mm.
at the end of the day, you got to have somewhere to stay, right? And you got to make a choice. And if you make the choice to continue to rent, you become a problem, in my personal opinion, to why young people aren't out here buying, and to why the home ownership rate, if you're an African American, is lower, because you're making certain choices. You don't have to live for the Joneses. Find something that's comparable. If you're renting a 1 bedroom apartment, because a lot of people do, they rent a 1 bedroom apartment, but yet you balk at the idea of buying a 2 bedroom house.
So these are people that are in a 1 bedroom apartment by themselves. You'll share with them. They tell you what they want. You say, look, is it that they can't afford it? So they can't afford what they really desire. So you bring them down to the reality and say, this is what you can't afford. They'll go back to the 1 bedroom apartment and don't buy.
Right.
For years. Do they ever buy? Do you keep in touch with them?
I do. Some people do buy, and then some don't. I had a buyer purchase this year. I'm so happy for her. But I talked to her about buying a house. I think we said it was 2017
Wow.
when she got pre-approved the first time. And back then rates were really good, and at that time we were looking at a 4 bedroom house, and it was newer. And then fast forward to last year, because we started our journey last year again. Um, she got a beautiful house, completely updated. It's in a great location. I love her house, but I'll never forget what she told me. And these are her words, not mine. She said, I should have listened to you years ago. She said, because had I bought that house in 2017, she said, I looked that house up, before I called you to get back started. She said, I could have sold the house for $200,000 more than what I would have paid for it in 2017. And she said, and when I saw that, it made me sick.
Mm.
So I say to people,
Mm.
I don't want you throwing up and getting sick about a decision, because sometimes we're just not ready to step out there. But listen to professionals. I'm a professional, and that's why you hire me.
Yeah.
You hire me because of the experience and the knowledge, and and I'm gonna talk to you real. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna sugarcoat anything. My lowest sale in real estate was $9,000, and my highest sale was a little over $1 million. My $1 million client got treated just like my $9,000, and my $9,000 client got treated like my $1 million client, because you know what? They're people. I don't care that your budget is bigger than the next person. That just means you either got a better paying job, you have more resources or whatever. You're still a person. You're getting the same closing gift um from my favorite store. Typically is what I usually get. Most clients, you get a gift from my favorite store, and if you don't like it, you can take it back, but you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna treat you the same. You're no
Yes, she
better.
is. She is.
You're
That's a value, and that's all another story of friendships. Because I know my friends that I'm close to is principal. They're principal people. She's a principal woman, and I love it. It's this is what it is, and I'm gonna be like this. I don't care who I meet. I don't care who drops
right.
the sky. This is what it is. This is what it is, and that's true. You're gonna get what you get. I really
Yeah.
appreciate you coming on here and sharing, because it's just like you said, there's so many layers, so many lessons. I want to talk to you about education. We had a good conversation back, at the table around college. We were just talking about
Yeah.
skill set, and that's another conversation. But the truth is, just trust the process when you're buying a home. Candace, leave them with something. What would you tell them from the heart, like in this journey in your 20s? Just what do you want to leave with them?
On your journey in your 20s, one, pay your bills on time. I don't care that you done fell on hard times. We all have. That's called life. That's called hashtag adulting. If you owe money to somebody, you need to pay them.
Mm.
That means you don't get to go on the vacation with your girlfriends when you owe this other girlfriend 300, 400, 500, $1,000, right? You got to make the right decisions now. You have to do the things in life that you need to do now. And you also have to deny some pleasures, right now so that you can have rewards later. If you have not done a couple of things, I mean, like if you aren't ready to step out there and buy, let's work on making sure that you have a budget and you're living by your budget and you're saving some money. Everybody should have an emergency stash. And if you're a young woman, you always need to have some money
Yes.
because your car may break down, anything can happen, and your friends may be in a hardship and they can't help you. Your family may be in a hardship and they can't help you, and you need to be able to help yourself, right? So you always need to have a little bit of money. That's your emergency stash. When I said you need to have a little emergency money, you need to have your down payment money, and you need to have a little bit of savings over here because you never know what's gonna happen, and you want to be able to move when you need to move, or have a way that looks right. And then the other piece of advice I would tell everybody is, I just recently read a book called What Would the Rockefellers Do?
Mhm.
Right? We all heard about the Rockefellers, the Vanderbilts, and all these big people who made all this money back in the day. And some of the families still have the money, and the Rockefellers is one of the families that do. I encourage everybody, and it talks about the insurance
Mm.
and how people use their cash value insurance policies to buy property and to pay for kids' college and all this stuff. You need to go get the book. If you're young, go get the book. If you in good health and all of that, get that book and start putting some of these practices. Maximize your 401ks if you're young. That's something I did when I was in corporate America. And so I was able to utilize that money that's just sitting there to help me buy my house. So you need to make sure you're saving, you're maximizing your 401k, you have proper insurance. Um, and just dream. I was talking to somebody literally yesterday, and this was an older guy, and we went to karaoke. Sorry, this is a sidebar, but we went to karaoke. And I was like, "Are you gonna sing a song?" And he was like, "Oh no, I don't have enough courage to go up there and sing a song." Now this guy was completely great beard, really nice looking guy. And I'm looking at him and I'm like, what happened to that inner child when we were younger and we used to play in the creek and drink from the water faucet? We wasn't scared to catch some bacteria drinking out the water faucet. And we weren't scared to go jump in the creek and play and I said, what happened to that young child that had all that, spunk and courage and confidence? And he was like, I don't know what happened to him. I started working and I'm just here to have a drink. I said, you should get up there and sing a song. I said, these people don't know you. And if they do know you, they're going to be happy that you had enough courage to get up, and you're going to encourage one of them to get up the next time. And anyway, he didn't sing, but I did have that conversation with him. And so I say, walk boldly in your life, do the things that you want to do, have confidence and know that wherever you want to be, wherever you want to go, you can do it. You can truly achieve anything in this world that you want to be. If you want to be a millionaire, I turned on MSN today, and this girl talked about how she became a millionaire from the cash stuffing process and showing other people how to save money. She's 31 years old. I mean, come on. You can be a TikTok star.
Look, look.
You know what I'm saying? You can do anything. You can
You
all the stuff
can.
you can do.
But I think like what you're doing, dreaming, I think that's where that's where it is. That man, he lost the fire within to dream. Just something that just as simple. It takes courage. It takes courage to do what you're doing, to step out on faith. And but you're right. It's all around us. Inspiration is everywhere.
Yes, it is. It is. And and sometimes you need to just get out of your own headspace
Yeah.
and just walk around and and go talk to somebody who don't look like you. Talk to somebody who you don't know. If you have a problem with whatever, go to the library. How many times, when was the last time you went to the library? Just go in there and ask them.
These kids, I don't even think they own a library card. Most people, I mean, we grew up on the library. Let's just say, I'll tell them, just get online, get on YouTube, come watch these kind of videos, find educational content. That's my thing. Okay, I'm not going to tell you to go to the library because, hell, I don't really like the library, to be honest. And I've learned that about myself, like just staying true, but I do like knowledge. I like real applicable knowledge. I've always been like if it don't make sense, I'm just like, it's silly, but the truth is, like what you're saying, find the knowledge, just get to wherever you need to go to get the knowledge, and it's there. Whatever you're interested in, that's what you should be looking for, hashtag it. And if you're looking to buy a home, I'm going to definitely drop her information down in the description. You will see that. And just so thankful for you sharing the things today, Candace. We really appreciate you doing what you're doing in the world, because home buying is definitely, it's a life changer. It's a wealth changer. It is a wealth changer for many people. So go get the book. What's the book you said?
It's What Would the Rockefellers Do?
What Would the Rockefellers?
So that's a book, and it talks about, insurance, savings, just growing. And it's knowledge.
It's knowledge.
And you as a human who's in their right mind and a competent adult, you get to make the decisions on what you truly do. But having the knowledge, that is worth more money later on than you just getting dropped $100,000. Because if you really think about it, if you're a working individual and you make $30,000 a year, you're gonna have more than $100,000 in your hands at some point.
Yes.
Because of all the greatest opportunity to become a millionaire and to build wealth is during your working years. Most of us are going to work from 21 to 65. That's a lot of time to be working.
Candace, are you talking about working for somebody, or you believe in working for yourself, you become a millionaire? What do you think in our community to the young person? What would you tell them in their 20s around that concept?
Is whatever you gonna do. If you gonna if you're like me and you're resilient and you want to be a entrepreneur and you're gonna do your own thing, then you go work for yourself. If you were like me when I was in my early 20s, I worked for somebody else, and ain't nothing wrong with working for somebody else.
Nothing.
The bottom line is what are you gonna do? Because some people need to have more discipline, and they need to be able to get up and answer to somebody for that accountability.
I think you have to. I personally think unless your family just handed you a full, and even the people family handed them a business, typically they've learned that business structure in the home. But short of that, to the community and the people that I'm typically talking to, that you need that structure, this whole industry, this whole new age of everything's, business. No.
Yeah.
American can teach you so much if you're willing to learn and not complain and not willing to just jump into entrepreneurship.
Yeah. It's whatever's going to work with you. I know that I see some young people that say, well, if I'm not passionate about it, I'm not going to do it. I get that. But at the same time, you may have bills to pay. So sometimes you have to do some things as an adult, and that's what's called adulting, that you don't like. But that doesn't mean you give up on your dream. That just means that you might have to work a little bit harder so you can step away from that job and you can go into that passion. And if you really want to start a business, you really do need to have your savings on point. Like you need to have more than 3 months, maybe 6 months worth of savings so that you can get a good start.
How much savings did you have when you walked away from corporate? And how old were you?
So now I'm gonna have to do some.
So you walked away 15 years ago. So you were 5 or 6 when you left corporate America. Wow.
No. So when I started selling real estate, I was 25. I didn't walk away from corporate America when I was 25. I walked away from corporate America 7 years later. So what was that? 30, 31. Was that 30? Did I do my math right?
Oh, you were selling real estate and working corporate America. Okay. Yes. I got that part of the story wrong. Okay.
Yes. So I did that. So yeah, 32. So I started in corporate America, and then I got my real estate license, and real estate for me was the way for me to fix up my other house.
Mm.
I only needed so much money to be able to do all the things that I needed to do, and I used my real estate money to fix up the house, right? I didn't think I was going to go into real estate full time. I didn't even think, honestly, I would be helping as many people as I've helped. I've helped over 300 people buy and sell houses. I didn't even think that I would help that many people, because that wasn't my goal. That wasn't my plan. My plan was always to become an investor. And I felt like to get the knowledge of going to real estate school and taking the continuing education about, the industry and stuff. Again, go back to knowledge, right? I thought that was what I needed to be a successful investor. Um, at some point I just transitioned and said, "Oh, I actually like working with people and, and everything." And then I went into real estate full time in 2015. It took a minute. Now, as far as what I had saved at that point, I don't remember exactly what I had saved, but I always at any given point try to make sure I got anywhere from 4 to 6 months of my expenses that I need to survive. And I know once my account starts getting low, then I just work a little bit harder to build that back up. You know what I'm saying? Like you never know what's gonna come your way. Your car could blow up. That happened to me. Literally, my car like just died. I literally had a car and the wheel came off the axle in the middle of a turn. You don't know what's gonna come at you. You know what I'm saying? And you need to be prepared. And emergencies happen,
Mm.
stuff that you can't control, the financial world crumbling below your feet. I'll never forget, I'm at my corporate America job, and my department was the first ones laid off, right? And they pull us into the conference room. I'm the youngest person in that conference room. And they pull us into the conference room and they said, "I am so sorry, but we're going to lay y'all off because and I was in the financial industry, but on the real estate side. And they said the industry is going haywires, and you guys, I'm sorry, but y'all are we're laying you off. We no longer need your services, and what we're going to do is give you a 6-month severance package."
Mm.
Gave us a career coach that would help us find our next job, and something else they gave us. I was sitting in that meeting like, yes. People was in
Opportunity. Yeah.
People was in the meeting crying. And I'm looking at them like, wait a minute now, why are y'all crying? Because I don't understand, right? I'm sitting here like, you gonna pay me for 6 months and I ain't got to come to work. Honey, I went on a trip.
It's mindset. Everything is perspective. It's true.
I didn't understand, but I mean, I was so young. So,
But
they was
that's was the same mindset that got you to where you are, because you saw it as an opportunity.
exactly.
So,
And it's always, how do you view things? Do you see things with a glass half empty or a glass half full? I look at life as a glass half full, you know.
me too.
I try to see the better and the good and everything,
Yeah.
and I looked at that situation, was like, well, shoot, I needed a vacation anyway. I needed a break. And I do understand that some of the other people may have had other things, children and, different things and responsibilities. And, I said, well, I'm gonna go take my real estate, out, So you just have to
Because at
figure
that
out what.
time, you were actually doing real estate on the side.
So at that time, actually, I had just got my real estate license,
Hmm.
and I had signed up for my training. I was already approved through my company to take 2 weeks off so I could go to the real estate training, right?
But
Because
Candy, this is more so of really, this is another teachable moment. It's really the dots connected for you. You were in pursuit of something.
yeah,
And it
yeah, I was. So I was in pursuit of getting going in real estate and trying to figure it out. And God sometimes positions you and you don't even know that you've been positioned. And sometimes I've always realized that sometimes you don't get to see certain things, and it's right there in front of you and you don't see it because God kept your eyes covered, right?
Hmm.
Um and so I took my real estate training and I ain't do nothing for 6 months because, honey, I went on a trip and they I had the little career coach and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go get another job.
Yeah.
And it was a hard time because the recession had started or whatever, but I needed a break. I had a lot going on. I ain't even gonna lie. I had a bunch of crazy stuff happening in my personal life, and you're 25, you're young and you're vibrant, and so you're trying to live your life and everything. And so I just took the time. I didn't
You
I
get
didn't go
another
back.
job?
I did
Oh,
eventually.
you did.
Eventually, I did in the same industry, so I was
And
still
you
in the.
got laid off that job too.
Yep. Got laid off that job, worked that for a couple of years, and then got laid off that job. Then I said, you know what, I want to go in a different direction,
Mm.
you know. And I said, I don't want to, I'm going to still do real estate on the side, but I want to, go into HR, human resources, and that type of thing. So then I ended up getting a job where I was a recruiter. And then I did that, started to get my master's degree because I really was thinking, I'm going to just stay in the corporate America. Then that job laid me off. But by that time, I had 7 years in real estate under me, and I was rookie of the year, and I was a part-time agent. Mindset, right? You make as much money in real estate that you want to make, and I've always been that person. My clients didn't even know I had another job. That's why when you were thinking,
I
I
thought
had
you
been in
was working with me too.
a lot of people, a
See,
lot of
that's
people.
work ethic that you can't teach.
No, you can't.
You
And
can't.
and I call that want to. You got to want to have more. You got to want to be better. You got to want to do more, right? And you can't teach work ethic. That's something you either got. It's grit. It's tenacity. It's
Brilliant.
perseverance. Resiliency. Yes.
Well,
So
let's talk on that because I possess that as well. To the young person that I hate to say you can't teach it because we learned it from somewhere and we taught I think so. What I would say the experiences of just continuing to go in life, knock down, get back up, knock down. I think that strength is it. But let's say to the young person who never experienced it, they didn't see their parents do anything that sparked a flame in them. They're struggling right now. They're watching this. What would you give them behind that? Well, I don't have it. So what are you saying? I gotta. What do I gotta do if I don't have work ethic? I go back to discipline. That's why I talk about F bombs. If you have no clue where to begin, start in these F areas that you have to show up for every day, which you're talking about finances, save some money, present yourself well, that's fashion, find a way to present yourself, that's confidence booster, food and fitness, taking care of your body, mind, and have fun. You mentioned fun. All of these are things to me as a place to start working hard in your own personal life with no career attached,
right.
because that
Yeah.
work ethic, you can't teach it. You can't, but you can learn it.
You can learn. Yeah. You can learn it, and that might mean that you need to surround yourself around people who you look up to. We all got somebody we
Oh,
look
we
up
do.
to. If it's not your parents,
We do. My friends
it,
were it for me. I say it all the
yeah,
time. You guys, we're different, but I admired your grit. I admired your heart. I don't have. I'm be honest. I don't have friends that don't admire me. I mean, that I don't admire. I personally just
right.
the type of person. My husband. I don't. That's just me. If I'm not inspired or I admire you, we can get along and be kind. But people that are close to, I need to be. That's just me. I need somebody to fuel me, and I like to fuel people. That's just how I exchange my energy. So, back to that point of your circle.
Yeah. So, and your circle may be small, but you should always be looking to have new friends. Um, get a mentor.
Yeah.
You know, if you know that you want to be in a certain industry. Now, I'm gonna tell you what is amazing. Instagram and TikTok.
Yeah.
Not so much Facebook, but Instagram and TikTok. You can reach pretty much anybody you want to reach.
Damn, it's the best tool ever. To me,
If
and
you,
I
if
mean, I'm not on TikTok. I'm there. It's there, but I'm not on there. But I agree. Social media
Yeah,
is what you use it for, period. You and I had that conversation at the top of you. You're like, we getting on every platform.
yes, and Oprah Winfrey said this at one of the. I went to her conference years ago. Like it was right before the recession. I'm not recession,
Really?
the pandemic. So in 2020, she came to Charlotte and I think it was like January, and then the whole world shut down in March or something like that. Anyway, I went to that, and she said something that I was already doing, didn't even know I was really doing it. She said, we all have mentors that we don't know, you know, and I was sitting here like, what is she talking about? And basically, what she said is, who do you listen to? Who do you admire? And I thought about that, and I was like, you know what? Hell, Oprah Winfrey, my mentor, and I don't know her, she don't know me, but I can go to Instagram, I can pull her up, and I can listen to some stuff that she say, and I can follow some of the things that she's talking about.
Not
And she's
everything. Some.
yeah,
That's the key.
some
Some pieces from you can take
yeah.
pieces from people.
Yes, it's all or something, not all or nothing. Do a little something.
Something.
You know, every time you do something small, it can lead to something even bigger. So yeah. So you don't have to know these people for them to inspire you. And that's why I said the knowledge is out there. Like, you know, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, you know, whatever. And if you are a person who's seeking knowledge, what you focus on expands.
Yes, it does.
So if you are seeking more information about whatever it is, all of a sudden the universe is going to just open up and things are just going to pop. I swear, I think sometimes that my phone is connected to my brain. I can think of something and then it pop up on my phone and I'm like, wait a minute, I
As soon as you open something to confirm what you just was thinking about, and people think, "I know it's true." It's
yeah,
just you gotta
yes,
believe in it. You gotta believe
you
in it.
do.
Truly gotta believe.
And the bottom line is that you're worth it. You're worth every single penny that you make. You're
Yeah,
worth every dream that
yeah.
comes into your spirit, because I believe that when you get a thought, that's from the divine. I don't believe that anything is by, you know, chance, but that's just me. And I
It
think
is.
that
I mean, your mind is your altar. I feel like it's the highest
yeah,
space.
yeah. And
But
you
how do
know,
you
and I
keep those negative thoughts away? That's a conversation
oh
that we have because that's a struggle. We talked about you doing your
yeah,
affirmations. Self-talk is not affirmations, which I like affirmations, I get it, but self-talk, how do we talk to ourselves? Like picking out those negative thoughts because that's real, especially in your 20s. We're older and we do have more experience of learning how to navigate that and negative people and experiences. But those, and I get it in your 20s, I struggle and I have even with family mainly. Mine came from family. Some people struggle with friendships or, relationships. Mine came from family, understanding like not feeling guilty for just being myself and living and choosing my own thoughts. It's a process, that's a process too, but the power of positive thinking.
yeah. And that's a book.
It is.
The power of
It
positive.
is. It is. And it's a good book.
It
That was,
is good.
yeah, it is. But you hit it
Norman
on
Vincent
the head.
Peale, honey.
It's the thought. And you said that I don't remember what what you were, you said, what is your thoughts? It's your thinking. You said it's the thoughts.
Yeah,
It's the thinking.
yeah. And we all have negative thoughts. I can't even imagine. When I imagine, I can't even tell you how many negative thoughts I done had. Probably just from like all day today. I done had a
Sure.
lot of negative thoughts.
How do
And
you
we
push
talk.
through negative thoughts? How do you push through?
You go back to your goal,
Mm.
whatever that is. You
Sure.
know, um, I got a drunk monkey sitting here on my shoulder, telling me what I can't do,
Mm.
and I got this little angel over here saying, "You can do it, girl. We
Yeah.
can do it together." And
Yeah.
it's whose voice is louder, right? And sometimes you have to take a step back to take a step forward. And it's who you're not competing or racing against anybody. It's me against me. It's lots of people out here that sell real estate that make way more money than me. I congratulate you. I get excited when
Yeah.
somebody else succeeds.
You
You
do.
know what I'm saying? Like it makes me happy when I see you getting what you want and what you're striving for, because there is an
Yes, it is.
abundance of opportunity out here. And if I don't get something, it wasn't meant for me to get. That might have been one less headache I needed to have. I think I got like maybe 2 gray hairs that I know of.
You
This
don't
is
dye
my
your hair?
no, girl, I dyed my hair one time and it made me look ashy, so I don't do that.
Good for you. I definitely got them coming in. Oh my God, that's beautiful.
Yeah, this is my natural black hair. But what I'm saying is
Stress.
I don't want to lose no sleep.
True.
And and I feel like that if I'm gonna be blessed, it's gonna be based on what my own merit and whatever. And I'm gonna celebrate you because my award is coming, right? My reward is
Yes.
coming. So you work hard,
You
and I had to tell somebody this, but it was on a whole nother kind of conversation. But I work hard for everything that I have. Ain't
do.
nobody giving me nothing, you know, and I
But
don't
you
have
know, when you
parents
have a
that
life
can give
like
it
that
to
and
me.
people look at you, they assume like, oh, well, she just been
Yeah,
like that since she was young. She's always had what her parents had. Oh, well, her parents gave her a house, so she didn't, she didn't have to. I look at people when they start making them excuses. I be wanting to just
right.
say, we all have had challenges to get over. The first
Yeah,
thing you said on this call, I can't wait to so many nuggets. I'm gonna have to chop this thing. But the first thing you said is, my journey. We all, what did you say? Say that again. You remember what you said about your journey? Like, I'm serious. You said, this is basically my divine journey. Though you don't know, I have both of your parents passed away,
yeah, yeah.
and it's a
And
divine.
when you're 19 and you have no parents,
Mm.
like you're an adult because society tells you you're an adult, but you really are an older teenager.
Yes, you are.
You
You're
know,
not an adult, even you're 20. You're not.
I mean, you out here trying to figure life out, and you happen to make grown decisions. You know
To
what I'm
the
saying?
teenager too, and I know some, and whoever, I know this video is going to reach whoever needs to hear it today. And
Yeah.
we on here for a while, but this is going to be a snippet to the young person, Candace, who do not have parents. What would you say to them who lost their parents or parents didn't even raise them?
Yeah. So to the individual who isn't raised by their parent, and to the individual who lost, your parent, I know that emptiness, and I know the loneliness that you feel, that you probably will feel every day of your life. I don't care how old you are. You're going to have a little bit of a void. Um you have to move forward.
Mm.
It's what do you want in life? Do you desire, do you want a better life for yourself? And if the answer is yes, well, how are you going to get that? What do you need to do to get that? And that doesn't mean that it has to be money. It could just be overall happiness, contentment, you know and so you have to figure out, how am I going to survive and thrive?
Mm.
And for me, success is not based on money and stuff like that. Success is being happy with what I've accomplished and knowing that I'm okay. Because like I said, it took me a long time to make the decision to move from my parents' house. It wasn't because I couldn't. I've always had great credit, and I've always had a little bit of savings, because I'm not a I like to collect other people's junk. So I might pick something up off the side of the street and turn it into something, right? I don't have to go out here and go to the store and buy something brand new. So because of that, I was like a little bit of a saver, and and what I was going with that is that, sometimes things can make you happy, and sometimes you just got to make yourself happy. Treat yourself, and just enjoy life and enjoy the moment. And at the end of the day, this will pass. So, you know, that whole saying that, what does it say? Like, grief for rainy days happen, sunshine comes out in the morning, whatever that saying is. I don't even know what it is, but that bad moment in your life will not stay with you, but as long as you need it to stay. And I'm gonna tell you, like Keisha Cole, I don't know if y'all know Keisha Cole, but that whole little album that she had, honey, I played that thing. Should I let you go? Huh? Yes.
That's another
Honey,
stage in your life. That ain't got nothing to do with what you're talking about.
I
Because
know.
that was about
But what I'm
heartbreak.
but
Okay.
what I'm saying, is that there's gonna be hardships and heartbreak and issues, and
I
there's
switched
gonna be
life.
a turn. You're gonna have pivots in life, and And there's going to be people, Keisha Cole don't know me. She don't know that she took me and helped me make it over a pivot in my life and a storm that I was going through. But you know what I said? I was like, this sister might not know me, but when she come to my area, I'm going to support her. I went to her concert. I wasn't even listening to her at that time. I had moved on. She had helped me. It was years later. And I saw that she was coming to town. I said, oh, I'm going to go support her because you know why? She helped me again. Like Oprah said, you got people that you don't even know that help you get to places you know. She was one of those people. She helped me at a time that I needed it. And for the person who don't have their parent and they don't have, that's a pivot that you're gonna have in your life. All you got to do is live a little and struggle comes. All you got to do is live a little and heartbreak comes. All you got to do is live a little and issues will arise. But you know what? You still have to move forward and you have to pivot. And if you have to take a step back, that's fine. It's me against me.
Yeah.
Block all the other stuff out. It don't even matter. You know, it's me against me. You know, don't and it's about how I want to get there, you know? So don't listen to the naysayers and the negativity and all that other foolishness, you know? I mean, it's about what you want to do. So go out there and make it happen. Sometimes you do have to pull yourself up by your own bootstrap.
You will, no matter how big your family is or not, no matter how many friends you have or not, no matter what you're doing, if you don't get to a place in your life where it's you and just you haven't lived enough. You haven't experienced enough. You haven't stepped out to me in enough muddy waters and it took enough courage. Because if you get to a place where you just feel like it's just you, whether it's you and God, whoever you want to call, but it can't be a physical person, you got to pick up that phone and call. And I knew that was the place in my life where I was growing when I no longer needed to call somebody to kind of share my pain and look for a response. I went in and I just sat with that healing or that pain and just, you grow. You really do become stronger by going through tough times. And I really appreciate you sharing that because I've watched you just evolve regardless. I mean, so yeah. Thank you so much, Candace, for coming. You know, this ain't the last time, but we have millions of conversations. But today was about real estate, and I hope you gained something for this. As you can see, just two women who's on the journey of life. So continue to stay true to your soul. If you like this type of content, come back. We're always here sharing our F-bombs. Thank you for watching.
Bye, guys.
Let me stop right